Robert Overton, Jr., right? Yes. Okay. He's currently Executive Director of the University of West Florida Historic Trust, and I know that you've read about this and know a lot about it. I don't feel I know enough about it, by the way. In his position, he oversees all the aspects of the organization's operation of 29 historic properties, including 12 museum facilities in downtown Pensacola, Florida, and a 40-acre archaeological site with a historic farmhouse and visitor center in Milton, Florida. Both of these sites feature indoor and outdoor exhibits and focus on art, archaeology, and history. He's been with us, what, 17 years, right? And he has been Chief Operating Officer and currently is Executive Director. So we welcome you. By the way, he has 2 children and 4 grandchildren.
Thank you, Ms. Betty. And I just want to thank Barbara for giving me my cookies before I spoke, because she may regret that. I'm not the best speaker, but I'm happy to be here. Love coming to Gulf Breeze. Work downtown Pensacola, University of West Florida Historic Trust. You probably know it as the History Museum, the Art Museum, the Historic Village if you've been down. So I'm hoping I can tell you some things you already know, excuse me, and maybe some things that you don't know that we do. A little bit about us, a little bit about our history. So I've got some notes here. I may have to get my glasses out, but I hope I make the print large enough. I know none of you ever have to deal with any of those things. But what we operate downtown, she talked about those 29 properties, and that other property in Santa Rosa County, the Arcade Mill property, is not one of those 29. So I guess we could do 30 total, but 29 downtown. Those properties, what you would recognize as Pensacola Museum of History. It was formerly the T.T. Wentworth Museum, named that. We still have the collection of Mr. Wentworth in there. We talk about that story, but the museum is referred to as the Pensacola Museum of History. The Pensacola Museum of Art, that's the newest sort of museum that not a new museum, but the newest museum that came to our museum family. The Art Museum was still a separate nonprofit, and 5-6 years ago, they merged their operation into ours. And I went from being a history museum guy to now I'm an art museum person, but not really, because I've got some great art museum staff who know what they're doing, and I can still do the history piece. But they've been a great addition to the museum family. We've been able to share some of what we're working on with them, some of the collections we can display in both things, because history and art sort of merge together. The other part that's been pretty successful for us is the Pensacola Children's Museum. I don't know if y'all knew about that one, but it's several years old now, about 10 years ago. I will tell you, it's one of our more popular as far as the number of tickets we sell. We sell more at the Children's Museum usually than all the other museums daily, because people are coming in. We've just been working on some new exhibits there. We did some partnerships, a partnership with Publix. So if you were to come to the Children's Museum, you have to bring a kid with you, but you go upstairs. One of our newer things we did is we got a grant from Publix, and we created a mini Publix grocery store in the museum. And Publix, since they paid for it, part of what they gave us was empty boxes of Publix merchandise. And Publix, we've got little miniature shopping carts. They've got those. The kids come in, they get to assume positions in the store. They get to put their apron on, they get to get behind the meat counter or the vegetable counter, or they get to stock the shelf, or they get to get behind the little cash register thing. We do have a conveyor belt, but they have to turn it with their hand. We got a little card swipe and a little signing thing, and they get to assume those roles. Or they get to be the shopper with their bags or the shopping cart. And when we opened that up, some of the staff was like, oh my gosh, we got so many little bottles and cans and plastic fish and meat and vegetables. This stuff's going to be everywhere. We're going to have a hard time every day at the end of the day cleaning this stuff up. So the kids assumed all the roles, and it did sort of get scattered around. But when we said that it was almost time to go, they all started grabbing things. It's like, well, you don't necessarily have to clean up. No, we're restocking. So it's been a very good thing. I'm learning about children's museums too. So I have a sidebar about that. The other thing that one of the other ones we've got that people know about is the Voices of Pensacola. It's a multicultural center. So we work with Gulf Power to do the old Beacon building. If you were familiar with downtown, I went to a dance years ago down at what was the City Hall.